Welcome to this week's episode of the What Are You Thinking podcast. We're so glad you're joining us today. You are going to enjoy our show immensely. I'm Lynette Lewis, along with my husband, Ron. We've got a very special guest in store today.
We do. And this guest came to America from Egypt as an international student. He was a soccer star, full ride scholarship at a university, and just came in and was not even able to speak English at the time, and he was broke. But you'll hear this great story. And today he has absolutely become a great business leader and also one of the key leaders in Alkarma TV, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, Arabic-speaking Christian network reaching the entire world. So this is the remarkable Shady Soliman. He's also founded Lake Mary Church in Orlando, Florida area. And he has a mega church there. He's reaching thousands upon thousands of people, and just so honored to be his friend. And welcome.
Welcome, Pastor Shady.
Good to be with you.
Love it.
Shady, you are from, you have a very interesting story. We want to start with this, of how you came to the U.S. Dive right in. Tell us how you ended up here and what that was like for you.
Where are you from? Cairo.
Yes, I was born in the South, but my
in
life
the South?
in the south of Egypt.
Okay.
So I'm just messing with you, but yes, in the south of Egypt.
Do they fry their chicken there?
A lot more than frying, but anyway.
Okay.
Yes, since my wife is from Mississippi, I always joke about the South. But yes, I was born. It's funny things. My life runs in nines, mark my life.
Wow.
So I'm born in 69. Then we moved from the South to the capital in 79. Then I left Egypt completely, came to the States in 89.
Wow.
Then,
Wow.
I had my first child, 99. And, later on in life, planted, the church I'm pastoring now is 2009. And we bought the building we were in 2019. So seem to be every 10 years, it's incremental and kind of like the next level, how God moves in my life. So yes, I came to the United States in 1989 in a soccer scholarship. And,
that was where was that?
In Central Florida, yes.
Yeah.
At Warner University in Florida.
Okay.
The big thing is back then, I don't know if you remember, 89 was no internet, was no, this is like make us really old, but we're not. So, no internet, no cell phones, none of that. So I remember to call home was AT&T international long distance, and it was $1.75
I remember
a minute,
those days.
while the minimum wage when I got to the States was like $3.25, if I remember that. So This is kind of like life changed tremendously. It seemed to be right after September 11, everything just boomed. But yes, so I came in that era, and coming to America in that time, in 89, was a lot of lack of communication. So when I got recruited to come to the U.S., we thought a college that's recruiting out of Egypt, they must know these people don't speak English. And they thought, if you're willing to come and play sports in America, you must know English. So it was miscommunication because my dad managed to fill out the application and everything through some, him and some friends that knows English. And I ended up here in America. The problem is I burned the boat that I came with.
You had one ticket.
It was
one-way ticket.
Well, because back in the days, how the Egypt operates, if you're in the middle of your studies, you only could leave for 6 months visa or 3 months visa, just summer vacation. But because you have to come back to school and because you have to serve the military after you finish the school. So if I go back, I go directly right into the military, which is a whole different deal. And I did not want to go back to do that because I occupy so many years. So yes, I came knowing that there's no turning back. And to my surprise, the school I came to, I was the first international students ever that, speaks Arabic.
So you're all by yourself. Now, there are people watching and listening right now who have thought about coming to school in the U.S. I'm sure that's a common
Definitely.
thing. I mean, how many students do we have in New York City right now?
We
Approximately.
have more than, in this region, more than 1 million students, and probably 200,000 are international students.
Yeah, which we love. I mean, it makes New York City what it is in many ways.
Well, you come from Egypt, and Egypt, every Egyptian person who are my friends, every one of them are hospitable. Every one of them. And I've been to Cairo, and the greeting, welcome to Cairo. I mean, then next line is, I'll show you my shop or whatever it is. I mean, there's always hustling going on. I love that. It just speaks to my heart. But their hospitality, and I've stayed in people's homes. I did a wedding there at the famous church over there on the river, on the Nile River. I mean, it's in the pyramids. I did a wedding out there in the pyramids. It is a great place. You come to America, what were the differences? Because most Americans are not hospitable. We're individualistic. We're less family, more about, I got to survive, I got to make it. Is that true?
I grew up in Egypt watching Dallas subtitled in Arabic.
Oh my goodness.
So
for those of you who don't, for the people who don't know, it's
yes.
like a soap opera evening show on TV.
Yes. So
Crazy.
my two favorite American shows that was subtitled in Egypt was Dallas and Knight Rider.
So that would, for a lot of the
time
younger
ago.
people listening, that would be kind of like a Netflix show that left you in suspense every week. And
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So, so it was Dallas Knight Rider, and my favorite that just caused me to think different, talking about thinking, was MacGyver.
Oh yeah, we love MacGyver.
So these shows were subtitled in Egypt. So my conclusion about what I'm coming to, Americans are super smart, very beautiful, and very rich.
And what did you find?
Shocked to my core.
Not so smart,
Oh, my
not so
goodness.
beautiful, not so rich.
I didn't say that, you did.
Okay, well.
Now, I
It
have
all
to ask
depends.
this question, though, Shady. What were you thinking? This is what we talk about on our show here, our podcast. The power of thinking to change your life. So you come in, you're clearly marginalized in the sense that you're the minority in culture and in there at the university. And did you spend all 4 years at the university?
Yes.
Playing soccer? How did it go for you then? Describe that journey. Because here you are now. How many years later?
34 years later.
So 34 years you've been in the U.S. with one of the most extraordinary legacies that you've already built. I mean,
And
we're
an
going to get into all that.
wife and amazing kids.
Incredible
I mean,
wife, incredible kids who we love.
I mean,
but talk to us about what was going on in your mind
Well,
as you're going through all this.
I remember first year in America was a lot of shockers because the way you think, it's based on what you're exposed to. So certain things and certain things you don't know. Like, I know how to drive a car, so I know that I know how to drive a car. But I know that I don't know quantum physics. So if you ask me about quantum physics, I know that I don't know quantum physics, so I'll tell you I don't know quantum physics. But what shocked me, the part of us, what we don't know, that we don't know, that we don't know. And another word.
that's
So
good.
you know what you know, and you also know what you don't know. But there is a much larger picture of what you don't know, that you don't know, that you never knew.
Well, you know what?
So
that's
That is a
good.
very
It's
good
good. We
point.
talk about that.
Yeah, you come into a world that you did not know, that you did not know,
right.
that you don't know. So the shocker of being exposed to what you don't know, that you don't know, that's marked my first 2 years in the US.
Wow.
A lot of stuff I just did not even know that I don't know.
Yeah.
Then you figure out two things. The world around you will not change. The one have to change is you.
Mhm.
So I'm the new one here. And I keep asking, why they treat me like this? Why people act like this? Why? Then it hits you very quickly. If this is gonna work, You have to make it work. And you're not going to change everybody around you. The one that need to be changed is you. So you start at, moment of survivor here. How you're going to survive is for you to figure out what's around you and to learn how to live, to learn what's around you very quickly. So that was the biggest shocker first 2 years, is the amount of stuff. I thought I knew everything. I thought I saw a lot of things. I thought, then you get the shocker of simple stuff, 2 meals or for the day, but you really don't have it, for a whole week or whatever. It's always hot and fresh. Then you come, it says, where do I go? Where's the bakery? They said, why do you need a bakery? What do you need? I need bread. No, you don't go to the bakery for bread. You need to go to the grocery store. Oh, the grocery store. Well, okay. So I go to the grocery store and I say, where's bread? I'm looking for an oven. I'm looking for hot. I'm looking for fresh. And they take me to an aisle. And the whole entire aisle is bread. It's like, we only have 2 kinds in Egypt. What all of this? And my question is, how fresh is this? How long since they baked it? Because I did not, so simple stuff that you don't know. You do not know the amount of variety of bread around the world that's in America, and you see all this stuff like, which one do you buy? Which one tastes close to what you like? So simple stuff like buying bread, going to Walmart, I left Egypt with $300.
Oh my goodness.
Stopping in Europe and all that stuff. I spent some of that. So I had about $270 left. That's all the cash I have. And that's everything I have access to. So going to Walmart for first time, I knew I needed a few items for my dorm room. So somebody took me to Walmart. And, then I see the prices on the shelf. So I thought that's suggested prices because, we argue prices for everything. So I thought that's crazy suggestion, So I go to the cashier and I have all these items and she would tell me, $58 and whatever. 50, so when they say $58, what do you mean 45? All I got is 28. I tell you what, here's 25. You should be okay with that. So this is how you negotiate.
Unbelievable.
Then,
so
you
funny.
make an offer, then they'll make an offer back. Then somewhere in between, you settle it.
Right.
So I offered the lady some money and she looked at me. She chewing gum. She said, if you don't have enough money, go with the stuff back. I'm like, put the stuff back. I said, you don't want to do business today? And she looks at me like, do business.
These
so
stories.
it's just the mindset of simplest things. Then the next thing, she calls security, because I gave her, enough to be like 50% of what she asked. I laid there, said, have a good day. I start rolling out. And she calls security. And it's like, what all this? Well, then my friends.
Now, you weren't even able to speak fluent English?
No,
so you were
no enough to say I'm not paying the full price. That's for sure.
When I hear that story, it actually strikes me that it's common to every person's experience at some level. I remember showing up in New York City to go to work at Deloitte from the Midwest, and the first couple months, I didn't speak the language, so to speak.
Of course.
All the acronyms, all of the verbal vocabulary that you use in these certain industries. And I think everybody listening and watching can relate to you in this because you don't know what you don't know, and you show up in an environment that you don't know. And the pressure is to act like you know when you really don't know.
And you don't even know what else you don't know.
Oh yeah.
Right.
That's a scary thought.
And
Right.
now let me get back to you. So I'm with you in Orlando a couple of years ago. We were late somewhere or something was going on, and we hit this stalled, blocked highway. Now I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is going to take us 30 minutes. But you, my friend, an Egyptian version of MacGyver, you immediately took your truck and we're on the grass. We're We are not on the highway anymore. I hope your kids don't hear this, and I hope they don't follow your example. But
please don't try that at home.
don't try that in Orlando.
Don't try that in New
I
York.
was waiting when you did this. Couple things. Number one, it was exhilarating for me. It was like, this is like a great day in Orlando, and to be with Shady. No, that's number one. But number two, you got us to the meeting on time. Now, are you wired that way from your childhood, or is this what you learned through the struggles of coming to America?
Well, I learned something. First 12 years of your upbringing, it's the forming years of how you think. And of course, I left Egypt 19 years old. So my forming years were well established. So yes, now I was in Egypt, a couple of weeks ago, and things are totally different than how I left it, of course. But back in the days, Egyptians knew two things about the car. They know the gas pedal and a horn. and lights and stop signs and all that stuff. These are for decoration, colorful, like Christmas lights in the streets.
They don't mean anything.
So it's like even being in Manila, I felt like at home because these are suggestions. Everybody just keep moving. So yes, your instinct comes from your forming years, what you've been exposed to and what you did or what you saw others doing, that become your default system. And that's what you have to fight for the rest of your life, good, bad, and ugly. So that is definitely my default system in many different, arena of my life.
So in a lot of ways,
but that's the reason we did not have kids for 7 years. My wife said, you got to change the way you're driving or we could not have kids.
7 year
That's exactly what she said. She said, we don't need car seats for our kids. We're going to need steel cages the way you drive. that was one of the issues that I always scared her being in the car. So
I want to know something, Shady. So you're in college then, and you're learning the culture, you're learning how to survive, you're learning how to get through, you're learning how to be successful in a new world, which again, I think everybody faces that at some level. When you look back on those first years that you were here, maybe it's that first segment of 10 years that you described, talk a little bit about your takeaways from that, because you're a pastor now, you lead a wonderful church in Florida. Ron and I love going there. We've spoken with you and for you there, done your women's conference there with Amy, your wife. But when I see what you've built and how you have grown, not only your own reach down there, but you have empowered people by the hundreds and hundreds who are under your pastoral leadership.
Thousands and thousands.
So what is it that you tapped into and believe strongly about the power of thoughts to change your life that you recognize now has been really a guide in your life and how you built things?
Well, years ago, in I believe 90 or 91, my dad sent me this little book that was just freshly translated to Arabic. But that book actually was written in the 70s. And it's called The Fourth Dimension by Paul Yonggi Cho or David Yonggi Cho, the pastor in Korea. The Fourth Dimension was talking about the way you think.
Right.
And how the seed of faith in you. And that book formed my life.
Wow.
In how you could call things that they are not as they are and live like that. Now, I look back and I visualized a lot of things. I dreamed big, crazy things. And to my wildest surprise, a lot of the things that I dreamed like was crazy became reality. And you start thinking, is it really about just dream crazy stuff and make it reality? So I want to be a Spider-Man. I'll go climb on top of a building and jump off or whatever. And that's going to happen. No, faith is not stupid. Faith is actually have substance to it. So it's not about just dreaming big dreams and go after it. It's about pursuing, of course, in my life, will be God's word for what you believe in God. It will happen in your life. But I'll look back and I'll see several things. One, I always did not fear much. I always have that daring to try new things. That's one thing. I grew up like that. The other thing is that is a big deal. Now I look back and I saw that marked my life greatly, that if I see something, everybody says that's the way it is, that grabbed my interest very quick. That I want to crack that. I want to make that work. So I love to solve issues, or change the status, or do something that everybody thought it cannot be done. So taking these risks and try, of course, you will pay a price for that many, many times. But in the big picture is this, if you think it could be done, the word of God is very clear. As the man think, so does his ways. If you think it's possible, then you start thinking how. And the inspiration of the possibilities, it become endless. Then the more you talk about it, and the more you ask questions, and the more you look around, there's nothing impossible with God and with somebody that's willing to step out and using their faith to activate that. Most people live their life copying somebody else. I want to be like him. I want to be like her. Yeah, they did this, so I want to do it too. Everybody want to copy somebody. And it's like in the old days, when you copied something so much, it loses its character, It's not the same thing anymore. And, so many people live that copy to the point that they really don't know who they are, what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. While God actually designed us with a plan. And there is a very, very, very detailed out plan and destiny. And as we pursue this, it's a big deal. So I saw the hand of God in my life from the beginning. How did I get out of Egypt? That was a big deal, because I know that right now there's 100 million Egyptians on their knees tonight before they go to bed, say, God, it gotta be a way out of here.
Wow.
Because, economic hardships, and everybody want to get out and try something new. Why was me?
Wow.
The other thing is, I know a lot of students would love to study abroad. Why was me? So I knew there is favor, there is, the grace of God that I had these chances in my life, and that's a big deal.
So you were dreaming to get out?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't one of these people want to get out.
Okay.
Back then I thought I'm good. I'm good. And when the opportunity happened, it happened so fast I didn't have time to think. And if I thought about it, I probably won't be here. And sometimes the window open and things just start moving very fast, that you feel like, what is happening?
This morning, I was just reading the 4th chapter of a book called Culture Matters. Mm-hmm. And the 4th chapter was this, it's a development of nations, and nations who are resistant to change and those who are more open to change. And they start working through this typology of like, what is it like for the resistant nations, for an individual or religion, or some are more, positive and affirming and empowering, and others are more oppressive and controlling and pushing you down. And so the one that hit me this morning was on wealth. What is wealth? For a resistant nation, it is what is. In other words, what's in the land, what's in the geography, etc. And then the wealth, what that means for a nation that is not resistant, but is positive and is faith. I'll use the term faith in a broad way, that is more faith-filled, is that wealth is what is to be created.
Correct.
That's the wealth, is what is to be created. So someone could be sitting out watching this right now, and they could own nothing, but your mind, your mindset, your belief system can kick in, and life can change.
This is so true. I believe this. Difficult circumstances are very important in our lives. And those who avoid difficulties in life, avoid hardship, will never find out what's in them.
Yeah.
But difficult circumstance and hardship is necessary to see what the flavor of faith in you, and that comes out. And you'll never know what's in you until you actually in hardship. I believe, our faith is like tea bag. If it does not put in boiling water, you will never know what the flavor in that tea bag. And the world today is flavored by so many who endured hardship and difficulties. And because of their endurance and because of them persisting through hardship, the world today is a different place. I mean, you see the colorful things from the outside, but when you dig deep in people that made the huge difference, none of it came because somebody was bored and they did not know what to do, and they had all the money in the world, and they had all the energy, and they had everything. It's just, I don't know what to do. Speaking of this, those who see problems, they find real problems, and they bring real solution to them. They mark their centuries. Business speaking, we know this, in the 70s, the wealthiest man that emerged in the 70s is a man that solved major problem, Fred Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And he was trying to send some shipment. He did not have the money for the shipments.
Right.
And it was very difficult time for him. But when you read the story of Fred Smith and how the hardship of him dealing with shipments caused him to think out the box. And he started buying, retired passenger planes, got them out, and he started flying shipments. He started flying mail. And of course, he was the founder for FedEx.
Right.
So Fred Smith found a problem. Back then, all shipments and all packages was transported either by ships or trains and then delivered by mailman who most of them were on a bike. So it took weeks and months for shipment to make it from one place to another. And Fred Smith dealing with that hardship, it caused him to think out the box. And he became, the millionaire of the 70s. Back then, millionaire was a big deal. And, same thing in the 80s, Ross Perot. Mm-hmm. Everybody owned a computer, but computers were individualized, So Ross Perot was the guy that invented or start connecting computers to phone lines to transfer data from one computer to another. And he became the wealthiest man of the 80s. And of course, the 90s was Bill Gates. Everybody had an individual computer, but none of these computer have any standard program. You have to build your own everything. You have to know computer language. So he just developed, as you know, Windows, which is simple, generic program for, notes. So that will be words, for slideshow, that will be PowerPoints, for a little bit of art, and it'll be Photoshop. And he became the wealthiest man of the 90s. And of course, the 2000 was the boom of e-commerce, So every one of the people that became great and wealthy, and people look from the outside, wow, look at the wealth of those people. How did they get there? They dealt with hardship. They saw a major problem, and they were inspired to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And our world today is full of problems.
Yes.
One of my best passing time, to go to sleep or whatever, is to watch Shark Tank. You know why I like Shark Tank?
Shady, I mean, you got to be kidding. Like just 2 nights ago, Lynette and I were
we
with
introduced our girls.
Twin girls. We wanted them to see. They're now addicted to Shark Tank, and they are predicting how much the person can get, how much percentage would be, shareholders. And,
yes, but I love it because some of the, that's of course now you could see all kind of stuff, invention, and you see new ideas, but also what problems are people seeing and what are they doing about it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You could be one of the people that suffer the problem, or you could be the one that complain about the problem, or you could be the one that think of how I'm going to solve that problem. And that's what changes everything.
Yeah. And you need people in your life that are realists because they help you deal in wisdom, but you also need people in your life who are dreamers and thinkers because they're the ones that reinvent what is to what can be. And those stories that you tell are so great. I want to ask you to tell the story, speaking of people who think differently. We had a wonderful experience with you. It's really how we got here today to this show and to this podcast. About a year and a half ago, we were going to go to Santa Monica to spend a week in California because I had on my bucket list that I wanted to go to the Rose Bowl parade. And Ron wanted to get that off the bucket list forever because he did not want to go to the parade. But when you found out we were going to California, you said, hey, stop over and see me at a place called the Alkarma TV network. And it was started by one of your very, very dear friends. And I would just love for you to tell that story about the Alkarma network. Because we stopped by, we thought we'd be there for maybe a few minutes or whatever. And
go look around and pat somebody on the back. And then something really happened to us that was a massive surprise. We were in awe. We were blown away by what we saw, what we experienced, meeting the leadership, meeting the people on the ground, seeing what was happening, looking at the beauty of the building, everything. And we have you to thank for this, Shady. You nudged us forward in this whole thing, and it just worked out that we're here today because of that interaction.
Yeah.
Well, right after September 11, many people start thinking, especially those who are from the Middle East, how are we gonna make the difference? How are we gonna fix what happened? Right after September 11, October of 2001, that's when I, quit business and went into full-time ministry. And it was inspired by what we watched happen in September 11. Wow. So I remember exactly October 7 of 2001, that was my last day in business. And I went in a full-time ministry. In the meantime, a good friend of mine, basically childhood friend, he heard clearly the Lord speaking to him right after September 11 that us who are Arabic-speaking people got to start, we have to, deal with the situation, what happened, in a positive way. Of course, right after September 11, all Middle Easterns were profiled, and it was, if you're from the Middle East, you want to hide under something, but because it's everybody think, okay, you people did that. So that's when Alkarma TV was birthed, and it was birthed out of desperation to take the gospel that makes the difference, that changed the heart. So we know the answer is not war. Of course, there's political answers, but there's also philosophical answers. But we know that the issues are not political. The issues are heart issues. And to change the heart, there's only one power can change the heart of man, is the love of God and the grace of God. So we wanted to take the message of the gospel in Arabic because we thought there is millions of Middle Eastern Arabic-speaking people in North America, just North America. So Samuel, my friend from California, he started having encounter with God about how he's going to do that. At the time, he had a very comfortable job as a controller for big, corporate America, very comfortable job. And, start studying business and video production in the evening after his job. And basically, he took the step of faith and started in his own garage. He had 3-car garage. So the 1-car garage became the control room. The 2-car garage became the studio, and launched this on the international dish. Back in the days, Everybody had a little dish that's international dish, and he captured a lot of different language, different culture on the international dish. So he launched it on the international dish, which is completely free, just to broadcast the gospel 24/7 to Arabic-speaking people in North America. That was the whole vision. Little that we know how God will breathe on this. And few years later, the internet became more than just dial-up and became more, you could stream stuff. So then we went 24/7 on the internet that you could access Alkarma programming from anywhere in the world. And very quickly, this grew. So then we moved out of the garage, and you talk about hardship that forced you to the next level, because he had a bunch of young Middle Eastern people operating cameras and controllers and mailing, follow-up materials and taking phone calls and all that stuff out of his house. So his neighbors thought there is a, terrorist cell in this house. They're all Middle Easterns. They're all speaking Arabic. So then they had to deal with a government bust.
Wow.
What are you doing here? And they found out he's broadcasting, and they said you could not broadcast and have a studio and residential. So they give him.
Can we interrupt
Sure.
right there? So Shady, I mean, here's what's crazy about so many biases, prejudices. Sometimes we're right. Most of the times we're probably wrong. And that community was already thinking like, look at that. Here they come again. More cars outside. They're all
Yes.
Middle Eastern, or they're all probably terrorists.
And Middle Eastern are usually loud, and they stay up late. So you could imagine this is across the street from
Now,
your house.
That is true.
It will be us, yes.
Every time I went to Cairo, at 2 a.m. was the beginning of the night. I mean,
Yes.
it was really.
It's a city that never sleeps, that's
So,
for sure.
But the irony of this is that you have all these people who actually were changing the terrorists, not just the mentality, but actually helping people come to know God
Yes.
and change their worldview. And that's like, what a contradiction here.
Well, but the truth is, that was, the city give us 1 week to move out, then 10 days, then, we kept getting extensions because this was 24/7. You could not stop. And that forced us into a warehouse that was 4,000 square feet warehouse to become the first official studio. And the same thing happened there. We outgrown it. And again, codes forced us out to our existing studio. Right now, it's about 28,000 square feet under roof, as you experience it right across the street from Boeing.
8 studios, beautiful, world-class
Yes.
operation there.
But what is more important today, the reach of Alkarma TV, since that, now we are on 14 satellites worldwide and 7 separate different channels, and an app that is 24/7, of course, on the internet, through satellites. And some of these satellites, where are they broadcasting from? We are on Nilesat. Nilesat is owned and operated by the Egyptian government. We are on YesSat. YesSat is owned and operated by United Arab Emirates. We are on ArabSat, that is owned and operated by Saudi Arabia. So imagine, right from inside of Saudi, the broadcast of the gospel is sent to the satellites and to the region. So we are on 14 different satellites that covering, 98.9% of the world.
Wow.
24/7. We never stopped since the small beginning in the garage. But to say that you reach that as a network that covering that much, every growth of it happened because of hardship, difficulties, and what is birthed out of that always great opportunities.
Wow.
Because I think that's how our life is shaped.
Yes, yes. It struck us when we were at the studio and you were talking about this kind of reach, that for those that are listening, and we consume television very different than most of the world, in
Correct.
particular the Middle East, which does it through satellite, where you fly into those areas and you see satellite dishes
Everywhere.
on every single building. It's
on their
foreign
cars.
to us because that's not how we watch TV. But the power of getting programming into a nation where it's illegal to talk about Christianity.
Not just one nation.
Yeah.
28 nations around the world that
28.
Arabic speaking nations that you could not, many other, of course, some in Asia, Pakistan, China, all that stuff. But the truth is, you could not stop airwaves. You could not stop signals. You could not stop satellites. So the mindset of these countries that operated in geographic isolation, actually something happened when the wall of Berlin came down in the early 90s. When that wall came down, it was not just the Soviet Union falling apart. It was also the same time of birthing of the internet and satellites. And now these physical geographic location isolations, these walls cannot keep the message of freedom, the message of salvation, the message of, that connected the world out. Today, of course, with social media and everything else, the world is so connected and it's so small, and, isolations keep falling apart. So now you cannot isolate people from the truth. Now the truth is out there for those who are looking. They will find it. So that is the reality for our world today.
And this is really what it takes. It takes a dedication. It takes faith. It takes opening up to a bigger, broader world and perspective. And these things, when that happens, people can actually change their life. And that's this podcast is about. And this is what we want to happen. What are you thinking is about. If you can change your thoughts, you can change your life.
I marvel when I hear that story every time now that I've heard it about the network and just the concept that Samuel, your friend, I remember you told us that when he came to you and told you he's going to do this, you were like, "You're crazy, man!" Like
he's not that. Okay, he's a contemplator, very quiet, very reserved, very introvert type of personality, and that's how I knew him all over the years. So I'm thinking, he said, I'm going to start this first, and we're going to reach Arabic-speaking people with the gospel all over North America. I said, who's starting that? He said, me. I said, okay, when you really start, you let me know, I'll help you. Because the reason I said that to him, simply because I never thought he will be the one that does that.
Wow. Isn't that a powerful truth right there?
Yeah.
I mean, you might be watching or listening today and people have told you it'll never be you. Some of us grow up with that kind of messaging. Mm-hmm. It can't be you. You're not smart enough. You're not gifted enough. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough talent. I mean, haven't we all heard some form of that growing up, or from our boss or from coworkers or jealous friends or whoever?
Shady, I want to bring up, and this could be a little bit sensitive, but I think it's very important. I want to bring up the Arabic-speaking world. Mm-hmm. And I mean, my relationships with Arabic-speaking background people it's such a rich joy to me. I was first time in Egypt in the 1990s. I loved it then. And then I've been to Jordan. I've been to other parts of the Middle East, and there's so much to gain. And I'm watching with my own eyes the divisiveness between some of these nations is now melting. And it's extraordinary, some of what's happening. But there's still conflict, there's still wars. And I think this network, Alkarma, means something. I mean, the vine.
This is, Jesus says, I'm the vine, you're the branches.
And it's in Arabic. So what are you guys, what is Alkarma? Are we reaching the Arabic-speaking world? Is it working? What's going on?
Well, it's definitely the largest production and Christian Arabic-speaking network in the world today that is 24/7 around the clock. Is the first 24/7 network around the clock. Just think of it this way. 24/7 since the early 2000s, never stopped. And now you have 7 different channels, 7 different ways for people to see you. 14 different satellites. It's just, it's hard to fathom. So in your satellite and IP address, which is people that watch on the internet or through the app, you're averaging somewhere from, 30 to 40 million viewers every single month in any given days. The amount of phone calls, they receive over 2,000 calls every single week. That's people actually calling the 1-800 number or the WhatsApp number or connecting. Millions of viewers on YouTube and, social media interactions. So you think of this and you say how this could be happening. It starts with a problem.
Yeah.
Somebody thought maybe we could find a solution for this. Then God breathed on that. Mm-hmm. I want to say something very important. What we think is what we speak. Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. So our words have the power to create. So, if you want to know what you're thinking, just watch yourself talking. And what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And that's the abundance of the heart. Some people speak hurt. Some people speak past. Some people speak, impossibilities. Some people speak, problems. But some people speak faith. Some people speak future. Some people speak solutions. Some people speak big ideas. And some people speak miracles. What are we speaking matters because our words have the power to create. That's for sure.
I love that when you say, if you want to know what you're thinking, listen to what you're speaking. Yeah. And so on this What Are You Thinking podcast, we need to also think about what are we saying and how are we speaking. The other thing I've learned over the years is that I want to have positive faith-speaking people around me because when I'm feeling discouraged, and I love this about my husband but I was single for most of my life. So I didn't have a husband for years, but I had lots of positive voices in my life. And those positive voices make such a difference because we all need someone every once in a while to speak us up into a greater place of faith.
So true.
And now what's so exciting about Alkarma is you have 20 years of incredible outcomes to speak about.
So
but
true.
I love when you said
it's amazing.
It started out of a problem. And we know Samuel's life, multiple problems, the loss of his beloved wife to cancer, brutal cancer, the setbacks that he's experienced personally, any number of which could have shut him down. And he said, no, it's not enough yet. And we know you're leaving the studio and you're going to be flying to California in a matter of days to do what you do twice a year, which is to help fundraise for the budget. It's extraordinary how you've done this on that model of financial investment, not by having multi-billion dollar investors, but by calling the people who benefit to give and to invest. I mean, it's just remarkable.
Yeah, and this was honestly, for us, it was, okay, so Lynette, on her bucket list was to go to the Rose Bowl parade. We went to Alkarma, and we visited people there. And it was, to me, it was greater than any parade ever. And it was greater than Disneyland. It was going there for people who have faith and want to see the world become better and change the world. These people are doing it, and we're honored to be with you in this journey. This is the Next Gen channel right now.
Correct.
And we're so excited to be a part of opening up the Next Gen channel on Alkarma TV. You can go to alkarmatv.com. You can go to the app. It's just turn on your iPhone, look for Alkarma. It's Alkarma.
Correct.
.tv or TV.
Alkarma TV, you could download the app on any app store. You could watch it on Roku, on Apple TV. So you could actually access it on your household, app store from anywhere in the world.
We just love this, and we want all of our friends to know about this. And we're really about out of time here. Pastor Shady, speak to the audience. You got a couple minutes here, and invite the people who are watching to go their next level, their next step.
Well, what would I say to somebody that was me a long time ago? The biggest challenge I faced, the wrong goal setting in my life. And so if I say, by end of next month, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. That's my goal. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Is that a good goal or a bad goal?
It's a good goal.
Depends.
That's a good answer. Actually, that's not a good goal. The reason that is, I have no control on the outcome. And that's how I set a lot of wrong goals. Then you get discouraged. When you set the wrong goals, you get discouraged because you feel like, I'm not reaching these goals. So to say I'm going to lose that much weight by the end of the month, you have zero control over that. But if I said my goal is to go for a run or a walk 3 times a week, now that's a good goal. Why? Because I control the outcome. So many of us set goals that we have no control over the outcome. But I control what I will do. So when I start with my own effort, what I'm going to do, and that's the goal. I'm going to, hit the pavement 3 times a week. Now, I could lose 5 pounds. I could lose 10 pounds. I could lose 2 pounds. But at least I know I'm achieving my goals every single day that I hit the pavement. So as a young person, I was setting a lot of hypothetical goals that I have zero control over. So, and that caused me a lot, I'm not going to set goals anymore. And that's usually the case. You get discouraged. But if you start setting goals that you could control the outcome, that changes everything. That's a big deal. Now, one of my biggest goal is, for my life to count. That may be your goal too. The only problem with the goal is you don't know how old you are. And some people say, no, I know exactly when I was born. No, but you don't know how old you are. What I mean by that, if you are 25, but you're destined to live to be 30, you're old and you don't know it. And if you are 55, but you're destined to live to be 90, you're young and you don't know it. The truth is, you don't know how old you are. None of us know how old we are. And if you want to set the right goal, is to make today count, is for you to know without a doubt, if today is your last day, where would you spend eternity? That's the bigger goal. That's the bigger things that matter. And actually, you control the destiny. Where would you spend eternity? Every single one of us is in charge of that goal. The decision that you make will determine where would you spend eternity. Now, some people will say, well, that depends on God. You're right. It depends on God, but God actually made it our choice. Here's why. We all know this. We're born slaves to sin. Means this, every time you set a goal to quit something bad, the truth is that you don't have power over. None of us have power over sin. That's a problem. Bigger problem than the power over sin is that the wages of sin is death, and without the shed of blood, there's no forgiveness of sin. So that put me and you and every single one of us in a big problem, bigger than all of us. And that's unlike any other problem. None of us could solve that problem because we're all part of the problem, the wages of sin of death. And some people say, if God is so loving and so powerful, what can he do something about it? Truth is, he did. He came down to our world in Jesus Christ. He lived the life that we should live, which is a life of righteousness. Then Jesus died the death that we should die because he was the only one that does not have sin in his life. So he was outside of the problem. That's why he could become the solution to the problem. He paid the price of sin in my behalf and yours. 3 days later, he rose from the dead to prove that he is God and he can give eternal life to anyone that believes he paid the price in full and willing to submit to his lordship. So where's the decision? Where's the goal? Here's how you could decide where would you spend eternity. It's simple things. You could become the Lord of your own life, do your own thing, and then deal with the results on your own. Or you could accept that Jesus actually paid the price on your behalf, and he offered gift of forgiveness of sin and eternal life to anyone that's willing to choose him to be Lord over your life. It's a simple thing, very simple things. One, start with admitting I'm a sinner and I could not stop on my own. Two, I repent of living on my own. Now I'm going to come and accept the Lordship of Jesus over my life. Three, I'm going to make this proclamation out loud, out of my mouth, between me and God in a simple form. You could look up to heaven right now and you say these words, Lord, I come to you today with a repentant heart of living on my own. I no longer want to do this. I repent of all the years of sinfulness. And today, right now, I ask you to come into my life, be my Lord and be my Savior. Thank you for paying the price of my sins on the cross. From this day forward, Holy Spirit, teach me how to live a life that honors you. If you have that conversation with God and you're sincere about it, I'll highly encourage you to contact people right here in this episode or find a church around you, and could help you to find a church so you will know how to grow in that new lordship under the lordship of Jesus. Congratulations, making that decision, change your eternal address forever.
Remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was a powerful moment that Shady was explaining for each of us. And if you made that decision or you want to know more about what this kind of decision-making looks like, if you're in the New York City area, we'd love to help you with that. The information is on our screen. We've got our webpage. You can check out more details about our church, which is Every Nation New York City. A lot of us here on our team that put on these weekly podcasts are involved in that church. We'd love to help you make those next steps. Get in touch with someone, talk about the decision you made, and we'll be here to help you. Pastor Shady, our friend,
my man,
great
Habibi
partner in this effort. Thank you for coming in and talking to us.
Extraordinary stuff.
Yeah.
And thank you for helping us and helping the world the way you do. There's no one like you. Honestly, there's no one like you.
Thank you.
Really.
We'll see you next time. What Are You Thinking podcast, always here for you. Remember, you can change your thoughts and change your world.